All right, guys, so here is a trade that I'm looking to take. So you guys can see right now what I'm looking at is price to trade down. I've got a limit order set to go long. And what you can see me doing here is actually mapping out the bullish breaker. So I'm mapping out the open, the close, and the midpoint of the bullish breaker, which is on a 5-minute chart. But now what I'm doing is on a 15-minute chart, also marking out the 8:30 opening price. So I'm going to walk you guys through step by step every single thing that I was thinking during this trade and the trades that I added and how I manage them. So you guys can see I just outlined the fair value gap as well on the 15-minute chart. And then here I'm looking for a potential re-entry once that first position is triggered. So I'm just kind of playing around with the Magic Keys tools, which I'll do from time to time because I like to map out my like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 type of trades. So this particular trade here, it has not been filled yet, but what we're looking to happen is see the market trade down into that level, and then we want to see it show signs of support to trade higher. So most people they may trade off of the bullish breaker, right? This could be an entry opportunity for the bullish breaker trader, right? Me personally, I'm looking for a deeper discount on this position. So you'll actually see me draw that level out. But essentially what we're looking for here is you want to map out that low to high and get the 50% of that range. And if you look at my limit order, it also overlaps just below the 15-minute fair value gap, within a 5-minute fair value gap, and also a 5-minute bullish order block. All right, so right there, my order was just triggered. So you can see now I am marking out that fair value gap on the 5-minute chart. And what we're looking for is to see price support this level, right? So this should be a logical level of support. There's a few additional things going on in this portion of price action. So we have a fair value gap overlapping with a bullish order block, overlapping with a propulsion block as well, inside of or just below a minute 5 bullish breaker. So a lot of confluence around this level. And if you look at my stop loss placement, it's just below that low. And the reason I use that low versus the other low directly to the left of it, which had already traded into the midnight open, which is that purple line, is because if you look, the liquidity's already been trapped. So we really shouldn't have any need to come back to that level, at least right now, right? All indications are pointing that price wants to go higher. So you can see the sell stops have been cleared, and then I'm just mapping out here. We also have taken buy stops. So in an environment like this, you would consider this low probability. This isn't really a market that you're looking to balls to the wall with the risk here. So in my trade that I'm currently in, I risked 0.5% to make 2%. So it's a 4-to-1 trade. So that's the idea behind it. But you guys will see throughout this video that I'm not necessarily even getting my target hit, right? So I don't get the full 4-to-1, but I am able to scrape off partials in between. And one of the things that I notice a lot of people struggle with is having the confidence to stick with their position. And this is something I dealt with, a lot and still deal with from time to time. But in my opinion, this is like one of my go-to bread and butter setups. So, which is very similar to what ICT teaches in the 2022 mentorship. So you have to build your eye really and train your eye to see these things over and over and over again. Ones that you execute on, ones that you miss, ones that you don't execute on, which really teaches you a lot of lessons. And I would highly recommend journaling these things too. So you can see here I'm looking for support. I'm mapping out the 50% level of that fair value gap. Also, one thing to note is look at the bodies here, right? You can see the body of that 5-minute candle just closed just above that fair value gap. And that's ideal for what we're looking for. So I'm just going through right now and updating all my levels because I don't want to make my charts too messy. But obviously, because I knew I'd be teaching in this video, I wanted to map everything out and show you guys the annotations along with doing this voice recording to show you guys all the components. So again, we're just looking for price to trade higher from here, and we'll start to scrape partials off as this position continues to go in profit. if there's an opportunity, I am going to look to add pyramiding positions as well. So that's the idea that I had in this AM session. Keep in mind that this was before a CPI news. We have CPI news tomorrow, January 12th. So ideally, you're not looking to trade before a day like this, which is one of the reasons I'm keeping risk very low and only taking, trades that 100% make sense to me. And if you look here, we have a balanced price range. So I'm just going through and actually mapping that out. And this is a level that I would anticipate to stay open simply because of the fact that it's a balanced price range, right? So if you look at the candles to the left and the overlapping candles to the right, you've had both sell side and buy side delivery. So there's no real need for price to want to dip back into that level, which is why my stop is where it is. And we also have the sell stops that were cleared. So a lot of things were lining up in this position. And if you look right now, we're actually trading within a bearish fair value gap, right? Very small bearish fair value gap. Since I'm bullish, you want to see these candles continue pushing through that bearish fair value gap, right? Because there's a lot of confluence on the buy side, and the buyers, breakout sellers have now been trapped. So we should anticipate this to trade higher. So we want sharp speed through this bearish fair value gap. And you'll see as price continues to unfold, we'll see that. By the way, for anyone watching this, I have gone ahead and speeded this up 2x just because it would have been an hour long if not. And I didn't want to bore you guys to death in terms of like minute by minute watching them print. So this is a little bit quicker for us to go through. And that's exactly what we want. So the delivery on price here is, once you get familiar with seeing this, you know whether or not it's going to reject here or it's going to continue pushing through. And based on this current price action, what's happening right now, you can see that we're having speed through this fair value gap. Now, it can still wick through and trade lower, but based on the fact that it's left relative equal highs, hasn't traded too much above it, I'm anticipating a continuation higher rather than this thing to just sell off. So that's what we're looking for here. Again, I will look for opportunities to pyramid, and you guys will see me do that. And actually, you'll see me take a couple losses in that process too, and mitigate those losses, and ultimately end the day in profit. So we're essentially just looking at this bearish fair value gap, and we're looking for price to get through those levels. So you guys can probably tell already, like, there's a lot of things happening, right? You're not really just sitting and watching every single candle paint. I don't necessarily do this on a daily basis. I'm not annotating everything like this because it's going on in my head, but I wanted to do this for the video. But primarily, that when you're starting, this is how you want to look at it. So if you look at Monday's trading, which is one of the things I'm covering here, Monday's trading had already traded into a weekly fair value gap, and that white box is a hourly fair value gap. So which again, this makes all of these conditions low probability. This isn't really a day that you're looking to use like max risk or anything like that. So that's primarily what I was outlining with that hourly bearish fair value gap. And then I'm taking a screenshot of this, but you'll see, that screenshot comes in handy for my journal because I know what I'm anticipating price to do and then what actually happens in price. So internally, I'm considering that this could be a level where we reject, right? We're in an hourly fair value gap. We've cleared buy side liquidity, even though it was very shallow. But ultimately, I'm still looking for that push higher, and we're ahead of the 930 open. So I'm anticipating that 930 open to give us some volatility and push us through the buy side liquidity a little bit deeper. So what you see me doing here is outlining a 1 minute fair value gap. So this is an area where price is going to want to revisit. And when price revisits this area, we want to see how it behaves. So you'll see me right here. I thought that was an institutional order flow entry drill. I thought it traded 1 pip below, which that would deem it an institutional order flow entry drill if it traded 1 pip below that fair value gap high, but it actually didn't. So I realized right here, you'll see, I realized it was off by 0.1 of a pip, which since I'm trading the CFD market here, it is, that's something that can happen. I mean, it's not going to be as clean as trading the index futures, which that is my plan. I don't plan to just trade the CFDs forever, but since I'm using the funded account right now to build up some cash reserves and then have a larger futures account, that's kind of the idea behind this. So you're not allowed to, or they don't have the futures contracts with this funded account that I'm using from my Forex funds. So I'm just using the CFD markets here. So this is me just kind of telling you guys what I was thinking with the in text format, but ultimately I thought that was an institutional order flow entry drill, but it wasn't. All right, so there you go. See price taking off. So I'm just waiting for price to poke above it a little bit more, and this is typical price action on a day before CPI. So what I've done so far is I've moved my stops to break even, and I'm going to close a small portion of this, not the entire position, because again I am waiting for that 930 open to inject some more volatility and potentially get an even deeper run through this buy side liquidity. Which on an hourly chart, if you guys look at your hourly NASDAQ charts, there's liquidity resting above there, and that's ultimately what we're looking for price to run above. Sorry about that, guys. Just had to sneeze, so I had to quickly mute this. So again, we're just, this is what it looks like. This is the reality of, someone who trades. I mean, you have to sit here. And I mean, you don't necessarily have to watch every single candle paint. Like I could have went on about my day and done whatever, but I wanted to show you guys step by step. This is exactly how I manage my positions. This is how I trade. I mean, this is how I do everything. So this is just me kind of zooming out, taking another view or vantage point at some of the other time frames and things like that. So you guys can see me here mapping out these different fair value gaps. I'm really mapping out every single level that forms just to hopefully train you guys so you can see it with your eye as well. But real live price action, I mean, you don't have to mark out all these levels like this. As you're getting started, I would definitely recommend it because it will help you see it. But this is really just to help train your guys and kind of see it a little bit more clearly. But we're going to see what happens here. I'm just drawing the range out here. Just because, again, I want to get an idea of where we're at, right? Are we in a discount? Are we in premium? Obviously, you could see it with your eye as well, but I want to get an idea of where that 50% level is too, which is basically just at that area that we're about to trade into, just below those lows that says watch this area. So as price pushes lower, retail right now is basically trying to either go short or they're looking at a bull flag or whatever they're doing. But I don't really I'm not too concerned with what retail is doing. I just know how I see the market, and I know that they're looking at whatever trend lines and double tops and double bottoms and all this stuff. So I'm basically fading all that, and that's what my draw is, which was those relative equal highs that I was just showing there on an hourly chart. That's my draw on liquidity. Again, it doesn't have to get up there. I mean, I can close partials on the way, but that is the level that I'm was targeting this morning. So looking for a draw above that. And here we're seeing price get a little bit of momentum, but thing is we're still ahead of that 930 open. So price could hang around, it could shoot up before 930 open, but really when that 930 open candle comes out, that's when you start to see a lot of that volatility. So I was just mapping out the level that I'll be taking my first partial at, which is above that hourly high where there's buy side liquidity. Now I'm just marking out this bullish order block here on a 1 minute chart. Again, these are not specific levels that I would personally be trading off of, but you can see that I will be adding a pyramid position to this in a bit, which I did put my stop a little bit too tight and you'll see it tag me and then run in the direction that we were looking for. So we're watching this area. And again, in the past, I would get trapped a lot of times off of that 1 minute bullish order block there. I would have went long, and then I would sit through this drawdown, and then I would start questioning my analysis and all that stuff. And that was a big lesson and big takeaway even for me last year, was stop trying to chase price, right? Let price come to me. And you can even see here my entry, right? Like price moved very quickly in my favor. I was able to completely reduce the risk, move my stop to break even, or 1 pip in profit just to cover the costs. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't have to like worry about this anymore at all. I could literally just leave the charts. I don't have to watch every single candle paint. But you can see every single candle means something. And right here is a 5 minute fair value gap. So watch how it trades in this level here. Right, there's a fair value gap here. There's a bullish order block here coming off of another bullish order block where my initial entry is. And this is where I'm considering taking my pyramid position. So nice little reaction there so far, but similar to what we were seeing with my initial entry, they have a bearish fair value gap that on the 1 minute chart, and this is one of the things that traps a lot of traders. Looking at that 1 minute bearish order block or bearish fair value gap, you know, they could be looking to short here, right? And for some people that may follow their plan, that could be a valid short. But for me personally, based on this current market structure, I'm looking for higher prices. So you guys will see here in just a second, I'm going to add a pyramid position to this. And that isn't ideal. Like when it's trading through like that, that's not really something I look to see. Usually I'd want it to kind of, it's okay for what it's done here on a 5 minute digging into that, but looking a little bit closer into this on a 1 minute chart, typically I wouldn't want to see it close below that gray shaded fair value gap there. So, which it has done, and you'll see me in just a moment map out some levels that would allow me to basically add a pyramid position. So, okay, so that's this level here. So basically you'll see if price gets above here, this is where I want to add a pyramid entry, right? As long as we're below this, I'm not interested. It could hit my stop. It can go to target, whatever. But if it gets above here with speed, that's a level that I'd be interested in taking a additional entry at. And again, I'm not concerned about my stop here. Like you guys will see, comes very close to my stop, but there's nothing to be afraid of as long as you have your stops at proper levels, right? And for me in this case, it's 1 pip in profit, but I know that it's safe because we've already trapped the short sellers. So this is the energy that we want to see. We want to see price rapidly close above that gray shaded area there. All right, so we've left a small little 1 minute bullish order block that you can deem as a bullish order block. And that's what we're looking for, right? So we want that speed above it. So I'm not buying it right now. I'm not trying to chase it, but you can see I'm getting things ready and I'm mapping out the levels, right? And you guys will see this is primarily why you don't want to trade ahead of CPI, because you get a very boring, choppy, kind of lackluster market. You can still make money, but it's not high probability, right? Risk is elevated. It's just not the best conditions to trade. But again, I mean, you can still make money and all that stuff, but once you're experienced, it's okay to do this, but you don't want to do this if you're a new trader. It's not going to serve you well trying to get in ahead of CPI. All right, so there's a 1 minute fair value gap that I'm mapping out here. This is what I'm looking for price to trade into, and I will take a pyramid position. So as you can see, my finger's on the trigger. All right, so I just took the position there. All right, and what I would want to see here is speed. I want it to just trade in there quickly and then run away from it, right? That is ideal. But you guys will see that That's not actually what happens. So the second position has been added. I'm just extending those lines on that 1 minute bullish order block. And this is why you guys, you want to have a plan that you stick to, right? Like before price even got above that candle's high, I knew where I would want to be buying, right? And that's key. So that's another entry opportunity there. And you will see me in just a second. I think I placed another one here. Yep. And you guys are going to see me take losses on these. And then you'll also see me mitigate these. All right, so I just took another entry there, stop right below that low, because if we're good and if we're going to continue running, it shouldn't have to take that low out. So I now have 3 positions total. At this point, I am risking, I believe, 1 full percent, because the first position was 0.5, but then I moved my stop to break even. And then I took these 2 positions, which were both 0.5% risk, which would ultimately be a full 1% loss if all these positions were stopped out. So it's just me mapping out the level so you guys can see it. And price is hovering around that level, and you'll see it right in just a second. It's going to take my stop. And that's going to clear me out of those second and third positions. The first one, you guys will see that one remain open. Again, it's going to come very close to that stop, but it's not going to get hit because, again, you have to have your stop placement in good areas, right? And there it goes. So that stop was just hit. And look how close it just came to my other position stop. Immediately gets out of there. It's just below the breaker low on the 5-minute chart, right? So that blue line is delineating the bottom of the breaker, and my stop is just below that. So that's ultimately where we stopped at, and then we want to see this push higher. So I'm just deleting some levels, cleaning up the chart a little bit. Now the fact that we've gotten below that gray box that says watch this area, you really can consider that resistance now, right? I'm not trying to change my bias or anything like that. I'm still looking for higher prices, but technically that could be used as a shorting opportunity for like a scalp or something like that. If your model is to get 5 handles or 5 pips or whatever it may be, that could be a valid criteria for that to make a new low. But since I'm bullish and I'm looking for higher prices, I want to see speed. So that's the loss right there. That was $86, I think. So it's 0.8%. I have a $10,000 account, so that's $80 is 0.8% of that account. So you can see now we're working back within that gray box, and I'm looking for an opportunity to go back long again because the levels are still valid. But now that we've cleared the stops below that previous low that stopped me out, I think this is the move, right? I'm anticipating the run to happen now. So I'm trying to identify a position or a potential opportunity to get back on board. And that same gray area that we were just trading below, now that we're back above it, I want to use that as support to go long. And you can see real sloppy back and forth price action today. Not an ideal day to trade. But hopefully this, you guys will learn, some lessons with this because it definitely, so there you go. That's another position I just took. As soon as we traded into that 1 minute fair value gap. So you could see even my entry is not perfect, right? But stop loss is set, take profit is set, and now we wait and we let price do its thing, right? So we're down on the day currently. We have one position that with the stop and profit, and then we're risking another 0.5% on this position. So if we get it wrong on this one as well, I'll stop for the day, and that's going to be a full 1.5% loss on a total of 4 trades. So that'd be, total of 4 trades. So we're looking for expansion to the upside here. Now, you'll see me in just 1 second. I'm going to map out that high, and that's going to be where the buy side liquidity is resting. So that's going to be the level where I'm looking to peel something off. Ideally, just before or just at the 9:30 open once the volatility comes in. And that will mitigate a portion of that loss. So you guys will see that happen real time. And all of this is fine. It can work within this level, but you want to keep in mind that we do not need to go make another new low. We should run the buy side first because we've already now trapped short sellers again. And notice how we're staying just above that gray box, which is also overlapping with that 5-minute fair value gap and order block as well. So there's a lot to take in here, but with time, you guys will just naturally see these things unfold in. And again, you don't have to map out every single little detail and all that stuff, but I'm trying to show you guys everything and what's really going on internally in my mind when I'm looking at the charts. And that's me marking out those 2 purple lines as a volume imbalance right there on a 1-minute chart. And if price trades into that, that would be another potential long opportunity. But I'm not going to actually take another long because, again, I'm already down almost 1% on the day. And I'm looking to mitigate that with these 2 positions that I currently have active. So 9:30 open, just about to come in, and can't really see. It's a little blurry on my end, but a minute or 2 it looks like. And you'll see what happens there. So as of right now, we have these 2 positions on. And we're looking for price to continue expanding to the upside. And this is me just tooting my own horn a little bit, mapping out these levels. But hopefully it makes sense so you guys can see, like, short sellers have been trapped. The market has ran up. We've traded back into a 1-minute fair value gap. We've made a new high. And we should continue seeing bullish price action, at least to the point to where we take out that previous high where the buy side liquidity is currently resting in this 1-minute dealing range. So here we've got a 1-minute fair value gap. And ideally we're looking for price to support this, and we want to see it run higher. So watch where this low is going to come in. All right, so we're starting to expand higher. And I think that was 10 or 12 pips or something like that. All right, so now 9:30 open, I think. Can't really see. It's kind of blurry on my end. I think it says 9:27. But yeah, we're getting close to the 9:30 open. There's now a bullish order block that just formed off of that 1-minute fair value gap. And we should see that support price and trade higher. So I'm just mapping out these levels. And you'll see I should have closed a partial right there, but I closed it just a second too late because I was mapping out that bullish order block. So trailed my stop on the second position now as well, so reduced risk significantly. So total risk at this point is probably less than 0.1%. Portion of the loss has been mitigated because I've closed partials now above that high. And we are looking for a continuation higher for the AM session. So starting to get a little bit of momentum here, and you guys will see me closing partials on that second position, just trying to mitigate as much of that 0.8% loss as possible, because again, I still have that first position on with my stop and profit there. So now you can see I've mitigated a good bit of that loss, and we're currently up in profit. And now that I've been able to do that, I'm looking for another potential opportunity to get back on board that basically I can risk between 0.25 and 0.5% to make a little bit of profit on the day and fully mitigate that loss. All right, so there's the 9:30 open. And I'm just closing partials. And I think I'll close this full position here. Yep. So I still just have the one position at the bottom. Nothing closed on that one yet. And there you go. Closing portion of that one there. I think it was about 40 pips or so. Trailed my stop a bit higher, just under that fair value gap there, and now the entire loss has been mitigated, and I'm up $25 on the day on this account, so 0.2%. And then profit, as you can see right now, is fluctuating. Again, we're not trying to just bail out. We're just going to let our stop do its thing. If it hits it, it hits it. Yep. So I think it stopped me out. So, sorry guys, it's just a little bit blurry on mine, so I can't really see, but you can see now. So I got stopped out on that position. I closed partials, mitigated the loss, ended the session in profit. I am also going to show you guys the results of a couple trades that I took after I had stopped this recording. I think I took 2 more. So ultimately I ended the day just over 1%. This recording shows 0.4%. So I'm going to pop that up so you guys can see that now.